And welcome back to episode 3 of Poetry Readings with Tuesday. I am Tuesday, and today, or tonight, the poem I have for you is one that is not like episode 1 and 2, a romantic poem, but more so of like this state of every now and then I do these poems. Let me give a little background. So, the genre that I would call this poem, or the stylistically, what I would call this poem is a state of the union of sorts, but not state of the union of like where I think, like, I'm not saying this is where I feel like culture is at or society is at. It's state of the union of my soul. And so that's what this poem is. The title of this poem is called Dumbo School of Training. Maybe one day I'll go into why I call it Dumbo School of Training. But anyway, let's get into the poem. Appetites of the apathetic, my love, I can feel you fading softly. Open letters I wrote to God, your waves, I can feel them breaking on me. Convening of my brethren court. Alice, am I late for tea? There's Lord Beckett, Davy Jones, and Jabberwocky that waits for me. Robes stained in filth I fear, from years I spent in muck and mire. In same room there's one accuser, and one who says I've been plucked from fire. My Atticus, who numbers me like an abacus, both hairs of head and days I spend where Holy Spirit doth manifest. Come, O great catalyst, have your way in battle dress. This heart I hold is sick, meaning when towards my Christ I'm passionless. Come, O great equalizer, my mountains covered in demon fire. Fall from heaven, O raging wind, on evenings whenever my feet are tired. So, just to jump straight into kind of, I guess, background slash breakdown, it's somewhat straightforward, but it's this idea that I guess could be captured in some of the verses of Psalms written by David when he says like bless the Lord, O my soul. Or he's like telling David, the psalmist from the Bible, is like telling his soul, he's coaching his soul, and he's having to tell himself to hope in God again. Because he can feel that he's in this place emotionally, maybe perhaps psychologically, but he's in this place where he feels, I don't know if it would necessarily be unaffectionate for God, but he can feel a displacement about where he should be in relation to God, like how he feels. And I don't know if that's psychologically or emotionally or mentally, but there's something at a dissonance in his person about his relationship with God. There's something that's off. There's a chord that's off in the symphony of his relationship with God. And he's telling his soul, like, hope in God, like, bless the Lord, oh my, like he's speaking to his soul, hope in the Lord again. And so this is kind of like those verses where I'm taking a look inward and speaking to myself. And this is I'm not necessarily using this poem to necessarily get to the point yet where I'm coaching myself to get back into a rhythm of loving God, hoping in God, walking with God more appropriately. This is more the precursor to that, taking stock of where I am, working my way through where I am internally with poetry. And so that's why it starts right off like being honest and being straightforward, like saying, hey, appetites of the apathetic, my love, I can feel you fading softly. Like, who are you speaking to? Are you speaking to a person? No, I'm speaking to this idea. If my affections, if I were to personify my affections for Jesus into a person and speak to them as if they're a lover that I interact with, then I would say, my love, I can feel you fading softly. Open letters I wrote to God, your waves, I can feel them breaking on me. Like in this place where I can feel a lack of fervency about Jesus in that place. I can feel the Holy Spirit coaxing me back, and that's what it means to say your waves, I can feel them breaking on me. Even in my apathy, appetites of the apathetic, even in my apathy, your waves, O Lord, I can feel them breaking on me. And then it goes into more things that may indicate what is wrong in my soul, maybe distractions, perhaps seemingly insurmountable obstacles or adversaries. So we get into this next part where it says, convening of my brethren court, like from the movie Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End, when they're having to deal with the slaughtering of pirates, and so they have to convene the brethren court because there's this fatal and dire thing happening that all the pirates have to come together and address. So it's saying, hey, like, I'm in this place where there's something dire and fatal happening in relation to my affections for Jesus. Convening of my brethren court. Alice, am I late for tea? This idea of Hatter being a depiction or the Mad Hatter from the movie Alice in Wonderland being a depiction or a personification of Alice's psychological dissonance. And if I am in a place where I am not affectionate for Jesus, then it's not only that there is a chord off in my symphony, but that I am in a state of psychological dissonance. So I am the Hatter in this instance. And so I speak to Alice, convening of my brother in court, there's something wrong here. Alice, am I late for tea? So you use these two pictures, convening of the brother in court in Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End, because something fatal and dire and drastic is taking place. In the same way in the first Alice in Wonderland movie, that how Underland has fallen into disarray and the Red Queen is ruling and the Jabberwocky is causing terror from the skies. It's using these two ideas from these two separate movies to convey this one idea of psychological dissonance, or just dissonance of the landscape of my life. Convening of my brother in court. Alice, am I late for tea? There's Lord Beckett from Pirates of the Caribbean. There's Lord Beckett, Davy Jones, and Jabberwocky that waits for me. So Lord Beckett and Davy Jones from Pirates of the Caribbean, of course, and then Jabberwocky from Alice in Wonderland. Robes stained in filth I fear, from years I spent in muck and mire. Now we get to what may be the cause behind my distance from Jesus, my feeling a distance from Jesus. This idea that I believe, I forget where it comes from. I think it's from the book of Joshua in the Bible. It might be one of the prophets. Anyway, this idea of a common garb or garment that is spoken about of persons seen in visions by prophets and authors of the Bible. Like there would be this idea when persons and authors and prophets of the Bible would see visions of heaven or have visions of persons in heaven. The persons in heaven would be wearing robes. So I'm talking about myself now in this vision I have of myself where I say, my robes stained in filth I fear, from years I spent in muck and mire. Wallowing. I'm trying to think of the right word. Playing like a pig in my own sin. My robes stained in filth I fear, from years I spent in muck and mire, playing like a pig in my own sin. So now we get to the cause behind why I may feel distant from Jesus. Robes stained in filth I fear, from years I spent in muck and mire. In the same room there's one accuser and one who says I've been plucked from fire. That comes directly from that verse. I forget which one it is, but it's this idea where Joshua is standing before Jesus and Satan is there accusing him. And Joshua has these filthy robes on and Jesus says this is one brand like a brand, or like a branch, like a brand who's been, this is as one who has been plucked from the fire. And Jesus replaces Joshua's filthy robes, I think it's Joshua, his filthy robes with white robes, removing his sin from him and removing Joshua's sin from Joshua, and Jesus placing Jesus' righteousness depicted by white robes onto Joshua. It's this idea of redemption. It's this me saying to myself, hey, like, we know you feel distant from Jesus, and we also know and are aware that it's because of these years, this prolonged period of time in which you've played in your own sin like a pig plays in his filth and mud. And yet, in the same way we referenced earlier about the Holy Spirit saying, your waves, I can feel them breaking on me, which in one way could be depicted like troubles from God, or when David in the Psalm says, your breakers and your waves, they break upon me, they crash upon me, but also saying like, hey, your waves, your waters, your cleansing waters, your cleaning waters, your refining waters, your rebirthing waters, your renewing waters, I can feel them breaking and crashing on me to like woo me with affections back to Jesus. Yeah, so it's this idea of redemption that I referenced earlier, saying I can even in my filth feel the Holy Spirit wooing me back, and then now here saying it's just directly pointing to the idea of God's redemption. In the same room, as I think about the context of my sin, I have this statement of, in the same room where I stand in these filthy robes, there's one accuser who says, look at the filth of his robes. But there's also one who says, I've been plucked from fire. My Atticus, like from To Kill a Mockingbird, and if you look at who Atticus was, the character in that book, then this plug-in makes sense in this context of speaking about the redemption of God. My Atticus, who numbers me like an abacus, both hairs of head and days I spend where Holy Spirit doth manifest. This idea where God says, your tears I keep in a bottle, your days I number, all of them are written in my book, and even the hairs of your head are numbered. My Atticus, who numbers me like an abacus, both hairs of head and days I spend where Holy Spirit doth manifest. Come, O great catalyst, come, O great changer of the winds of my soul. I'm lost at sea, I've gotten distracted, off course. Come, O great catalyst, reroute the winds of my soul and point me again to my lighthouse, to my Jesus. Come, O great catalyst, have your way in battle dress. Come to war with the sin of my soul. Come to make war with the things in my soul, the sins of my soul that dwindle, that weaken and snuff out my affections for Jesus. Come, O great catalyst, have your way in battle dress. This heart I hold is sick, knowing when towards my Christ I'm passionless. Come, O great equalizer, my mountains covered in demon fire. Fall from heaven, O raging wind, on evenings whenever my feet are tired. This idea of a mountain being a place that could be a peak in your life that is also, although it is a peak in the external, can be a place of great spiritual warfare. It could be this place where you're warring in the spiritual in a very deep and profound way. So in that, like Elijah, when he wars with the 400 prophets of Baal, come, O great equalizer, my mountains covered in demon fire. You know, in this story, the prophets of Baal with Elijah, they can't actually conjure their demon gods to do anything. And yet there is a very real war in the spiritual realm going on of God, the God of Elijah, waging war against these false prophets and their false God. Come, O great equalizer, my mountains covered in demon fire. Fall from heaven, O raging wind. The raging wind being the Holy Spirit. Fall from heaven, O raging wind, on evenings whenever my feet are tired. Come and make war for me in the place where it's dark, on evenings, in times when I can't make war myself, whenever my feet are tired. So that is episode 3. I'll do one more pass at the poem, and then that will be it. Appetites of the apathetic, my love, I can feel you fading softly. Open letters I wrote to God, your waves, I can feel them breaking on me. Convening of my brethren court, Alice, am I late for tea? There's Lord Beckett, Davy Jones, and Jabberwocky that waits for me. Robes stained in filth I fear, from years I spent in muck and mire. In same room there's one accuser, and one who says I've been plucked from fire. my Atticus, who numbers me like an abacus, both hairs of head and days I spend where Holy Spirit doth manifest. Come, O great catalyst, have your way in battle dress. This heart I hold is sick, knowing when towards my Christ I am passionless. Come, O great equalizer, my mountains covered in demon fire, fall from heaven, O raging wind, on evenings whenever my feet are tired. That is episode 3. And I will see you guys next time for episode 4.